Welcome into America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates. Securities offered through Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. Advisory services offered through the Retirement Guys Formula, a registered investment advisor. America's Retirement Headquarters, America's Medicare Associates, and the Retirement Guys Formula are separate and independent entities from Peak Brokerage Services, LLC. We hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend, and we want to thank you so much for joining us here on America's Retirement Headquarters, home of the Retirement Guys Formula and America's Medicare Associates with Nolan Baker and Scott Kirshner. My name is Chris Spahn. Here's how you reach out, 419-794-3030. Again, it's 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. On today's show, some people have a magic number for what they think a good retirement account balance should be. We're going to talk about that, and we'll explain why you need to be thinking about the order in which you plan to tap your retirement income sources. But first, let me check in. Guys, hope you're enjoying your Labor Day weekend. Nolan and Scott, glad to be with you. How are you?
We're doing great. Beautiful Saturday. After the show here, we finish up. Kayla from our office, our receptionist, is getting married this afternoon.
Oh, wow.
So pretty excited about that. And then my son, who moved off to college a couple of weeks ago, is going to be coming home, and Sunday we're going to go over to a friend's lake cottage. So it'll be good to catch up with him and
that'd be fun.
See how college life is going for him.
Well, that's excellent. Yeah, it's kind of the final hurrah of the summer, the unofficial start of the fall, and of course, with college football being back, so a lot to be excited about. But before we get into any of it, we got to jump into this week's show, and so we want to thank you guys taking time out of your schedule as well to impart some insight to the listeners. Which money issue do you and your spouse worry about the most? Fidelity surveyed 3 generations of people to find out. Surprisingly, baby boomers, Gen X, and millennial couples, they all agreed that the financial concern most likely to keep them up at night, well, it is, in fact, retirement. But let's focus on the boomers, those closest to retirement right now. Do you think it's a question of not having saved enough, or is it maybe that they're just not sure what to do with their savings to make sure that they don't run out?
I'll jump in here real quick. So I am actually the tail end of the boomers. I don't know if I want to admit that or not, but hey, what it is what it is. But one of the things for me, speaking as a boomer, and my wife is not a boomer, we do have a little bit of different ideas and perspectives on this. I have always, when I started my working career, I was putting money away, and I never worried about what was happening. I mean, retirement was the furthest thing from my mind. Well, guess what? It's not the furthest thing from my mind anymore. And one of the big things I worry about, that magic number was always $1 million. If you got $1 million, you can retire. You can comfortably retire. And I don't even know if that's the case anymore. But one of the things that I always worried about was taxes, and am I going to run out of money? Am I going to be able to have the lifestyle that I'm accustomed to having as I got to retirement, doing all the things without missing a beat because I'm no longer going to be working. So, I don't know. The numbers are kind of staggering, and my perspective was healthcare. How much is it going to cost? I've had my eyes open to that here recently. Healthcare is a big, big concern now, and a lot of people don't even think about that. A lot of people are ill-informed on what are they going to need when they retire. Healthcare is a big one. Mm-hmm. Dealing with my parents, with their health issues, and I look at their ages, and my wife said to me the other day, are we going to be okay with retirement? Because I don't want to be put in this situation like your parents are in right now. And I said, yeah, we're going to be fine if the market keeps doing what it's doing and we keep putting money away. We're going to be fine.
Yeah, and I would say, a lot of it probably comes down to the unknown,
Yeah.
For years, people have got up, gone to work from 9 to 5 and got a steady paycheck. And so, they move into retirement time, and it's the uncertainty of what that looks like. But the bigger question, I think, for people is, how do you get the ultimate financial confidence to turn every day into a Saturday, right? I love Saturdays. Saturdays are great. Today's a perfect day, wonderful weather and free to do what we want to do today. And it starts with, some education. Obviously, we're all about education, whether it's going out to a retirement workshop to learn about some of the biggest mistakes that folks make and how to avoid those mistakes. As you mentioned, healthcare, I think the statistic were about 56% of people were worried about healthcare expenses. I met with a couple earlier this week. He was looking to retire. at the age of 62. And I had asked him the question. I said, well, what are you going to do to bridge the gap between 62 to 65 on health care? Mm-hmm. And he said, well, I was just going to go to the Affordable Care Act and draw my health insurance benefits from there. And, based upon his pension, Social Security, and distributions from his retirement account, I don't know that his healthcare costs were necessarily going to be affordable. They were going to be a little bit higher. But what I had explained to him is that, by working like with Scott and I, this year before he retires in January, there are some things that he can do now to reposition some of his assets from what is considered the countable category to the uncountable, and it can dramatically lower his overall healthcare cost. So again, just a great example of, something he wasn't aware of. And I think that comes down to, experience and working with a professional. I've been doing this for 26 years, mm-hmm. working with people that are close to or in retirement time, working with hundreds of families, we've seen some things happen. The other thing, I think, being, the military background that I am, I'm, fairly disciplined in creating checklists and processes to get things in place. And that's one of the things that this gentleman said is he's just, I just need you to really break it down for me in steps on what we need to do. The CFO checklist, it'll walk you through how to help better manage your money, protect your assets, and efficiently plan your estate. The other was, if we look at the stats, 46% of people are concerned about retirement because of the economic conditions and the unknowns of the stock market. And that also makes a lot of sense because you're so used to what is considered reliable income.
Right.
So with your reliable income, that's your paycheck. You get your paycheck every 2 weeks. It's deposited in your bank account. It's like clockwork. Some of the things in retirement time can also be like clockwork. So Social Security, that's one of them. Mm-hmm. If somebody has a pension, that can be clockwork. Also things like annuities. Some annuities provide income. The uncertainty that you get is oftentimes through, say, the stock market, right? Will the stocks continue to go up or down? But there are ways that you can kind of control that. Nobody can control what the stock market's going to do short term. But what you can do in retirement time is you can control the predictable income. A good example of that is you could buy dividend-paying stocks. So if you look at the dividends that are paid on the stocks, whether the stock price goes up or down, those dividends historically tend to be fairly consistent. So somebody could live off of that dividend income. And then, as you mentioned, the $1 million, it used to be, that was the number. And, every family's a little bit different. So what's $1 million for one family? Maybe another family needs $3 million. Mm-hmm. Maybe another family, 500,000 is the right number. With some of the software and technology that's out there today, it can help retirees really pinpoint exactly what that number is that's out there. I know one of the ones that we use with Social Security optimization is when it does the analysis on, what could be the best approach on how to draw Social Security, it'll actually tell us what the number is that somebody needs to be able to try to reach and meet their retirement goals. We also have a calculator that, we use in our office that is part of our independent income system that gives us what the number is that somebody needs to have and, how to maybe best position some of those assets to accomplish those goals. For those of you that are listening, maybe you're do-it-yourselfers, or again, if you want to work with us, another one that we can set you up with, it's right online. It's Right Capital. It's spelled RIGHTCAPITAL.com. Right Capital is the financial planning software that we use. And, what I like about that is it runs through 3,000 different scenarios to help determine the probability of success of somebody being able to reach their retirement goals. So if you can dial in the system and, optimize the overall approach, and somebody has a 95% probability of success, I think that's some of the ways that you can get some good confidence to be able to reach those goals.
One of the things, I actually met with a client earlier this past week, and they had no idea about doing a Roth conversion now because of the tax rates being lower. And his eyes perked up and he said, So you're telling me that I can move money over now and have some income later when I need it. He's not taking Social Security until 70 because they've got the money available. But, I meet with seniors, so I deal with a lot of people that are either already retired or heading into retirement. And I just see so many people have to change their mindsets and their goals because they haven't been properly prepared. And like you said, Nolan, you can't control what the market's going to do. And the economy, I mean, look at the inflation rate right now is at an all-time high. And if you're contemplating retiring now and had your budget so fine-tuned that any increases in the inflation like it is right now could make you wait another 6 to 8, 9 months to retire. So it's very important to, like meeting with Nolan and myself to go through all of that. We'll talk about how your income impacts your Medicare and even your health insurance. A lot of people don't have any idea how that works, and it's ever changing. I've been going through my recertifications, and Medicare coming down the pipe for 2022 is going to be a little bit different than it is for 2021. So it's important to reach out to people and get all that information if you can.
There's an aeronautical term, the final approach, as the plane gets closer to its
Right.
destination, and you want to make sure you dot all your I's, you cross all your T's, make sure everything is lined up so that you can have a smooth descent and ease into where you're trying to be. It's the same sort of thing when you approach retirement. As you get 5 years out, you want to make sure that everything is lined up and that you don't have to worry about inflation or a market downturn or taxation increases, things like that, or at least account for them to know that there's some wiggle room so that you don't have to ultimately change your plan, change course, and work another 6 months, 9 months, or possibly even longer just to get back to where you were, to get comfortable again. And that starts with speaking with somebody like America's Retirement Headquarters. And the phone number is 419-794-3030. 419-794-3030. As you're enjoying this Saturday and you start preparing for a lifetime of Saturdays, go ahead and pick up the phone, give a call, schedule a time right now to make sure that you can enjoy those Saturdays. 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Scott, you said something a second ago, talk with your wife. You said, we're going to be fine if the markets keep doing what they're doing. And I think that's a pretty common sentiment. And fair enough, the markets have been doing great lately. As a matter of fact, Fidelity says the number of retirement account millionaires is at an all-time high. Oh, the problem is that some of us have short memories. PBS interviewed this guy right after the 2008 recession.
It took 13 years to accumulate $80,000 and 1 year to lose half of that, and then try to get that back in another 13 years and only be at the $80,000 that you were 13 years ago. The math doesn't work.
I think that's a fear that a lot of us have. You said, 6 to 9 months to get back to where we want to be to feel comfortable to retire. This guy's talking about 13 years. So what happens to our retirement if we do have another 2008? Is that possible? And if it is there any way to prepare for it?
I would say it's not only possible, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. And, that's the great debate. And unfortunately, nobody really knows. It's probably going to be some type of unexpected event that comes up, here on the heels of 9/11 is a good example of something that nobody expected to happen, but changes things in a hurry. The best thing that investors can do is to develop their investment policy statement, have a plan in place now to be able to protect, what they have grown with, so many people reaching record highs. There's all types of strategies that people can implement within the stock market or, products that are more fixed that can help address some of those concerns, because you don't want to be that retiree that is confident now, makes that decision, moves into retirement, and doesn't make a change to their portfolio. Then all of a sudden, 1 year into it, you're really upside down, and we're relying on that money to be there for you. So Riskalyze is another software that I'll recommend. And if anybody is not sure of the level of risk that you're taking in your portfolio, and you don't know what specifically is going to happen to protect you from losses if and when the next stock market turn happens, give us a call. We'll set you up in the software, and we can give you the printout that will help you know exactly where you stand at while times are good, and you can make some better, smart, educated decisions before something tough happens.
I've seen that program. You've shown me that, and it's a great program. I love it. It's one of the neatest things I've seen. I remember back when the market really crashed, back in the early 2000s. My dad was already retired, and we talked about it a lot. You don't have the number of years to recover when you're that close to retirement or in retirement. You and I, for example, I'm knocking on 60 here next year, and I don't have 13, 15 more years to recover if I lost 50% of my portfolio. You, on the other hand, are a few years younger than me. You have that time to recover. It's very important to make sure that, we talk about this all the time, make sure that your advisor, whether it's us, hopefully it is, but if it's not, you need to change gears. Your advisor should get you to retirement with a certain strategy and then change strategies through retirement. It's a big difference.
I've been reading a lot of stories with my son. He's 5.5, and one of Aesop's fables came up recently, and I think it's pretty relevant right now. The story of the ants and the grasshopper. The ants knew winter was coming, and so they prepared. They started tucking food away and getting ready for it. The grasshopper just kind of laid there and, just going to take it as it comes. And then winter approached, and then the ants were ready. The grasshopper, he was not. There are a lot of signs out there pointing to a market correction, a storm, if you will, taxation increases, inflation, all these things that are knocking on our door. Not saying it's going to happen tomorrow or it's going to happen before the end of the year, but if we're not at the tipping point right now, I think we're probably pretty close to rounding the curve. So my challenge to you guys out there right now is to have that ant mindset, have that mentality to go ahead and prepare for when the market does take a downturn. And that starts with speaking with someone like America's Retirement Headquarters, because again, your goal out there is to retire and retire once. Speak with a team that has been retiring people, hundreds of families, as Nolan said, for decades of combined experience. 419-794-3030 is how you get started. It's 419-794-3030. Have you thought about which of your retirement income sources you're going to spend first? IRA expert Ed Slott tells Morningstar that people in their 60s should usually withdraw money from their IRAs first and hold off on claiming Social Security until later.
At age 70 with Social Security, you'll get the higher check for the rest of your life that's locked in. That's a big deal because now you have that guaranteed highest check for the rest of your life. And at worst, Social Security is only taxed, I say only, 85%. It sounds like a lot, but IRAs are taxed 100%. So I'd rather have the money that's less taxed, more of that going into retirement.
I think he makes kind of a good point there. What do you think about what Mr. Slott said? IRAs before Social Security, or does it depend on the circumstances?
I think surprisingly, a lot of folks don't take much into consideration. They just assume that they're going to start Social Security right when they retire. And that oftentimes isn't the best approach. I saw the numbers came out recently from the annual Social Security report, and nearly 70% of Americans are drawing Social Security, not at age 70, not even at full retirement age. 70% are drawing it before they're considered full retirement age, which, for most folks is age 66. So what they're doing is they're taking a lifetime penalty. I asked a gentleman earlier this week that was looking to take it earlier, and I said, why? And he says, well, I don't know. It's going broke, and I may never get it back. But the likelihood is a married couple has a long longevity that they're going to be in retirement for 20 or 30 years. And so the odds are pretty good that income is going to be a pretty big source of income. In fact, if you run the numbers, an average married couple who lives 30 years in retirement time, Social Security can be a $1 million bucket of money that's paid out over the course of that lifetime. So why lock yourself into a lifetime penalty? And sometimes people say, well, again, I'm not going to live long enough, but you also need to take into consideration the impact that would have on survivor benefits. Because if you take it early, you're also locking in a penalty for the surviving spouse. It's just a matter of really kind of, again, figuring it out, taking a look into all the different options that are out there. This goes back to like what we were talking about in the first segment. certain incomes are more taxable for things like healthcare related costs too. So maybe sometimes it does make sense to take Social Security early if you're looking to try to, minimize things down. It comes down to figuring out which bucket of money to pull from. You've got a couple of different options. And, if you're not going to get up and go to work every single day, you need to make sure that your money gets up and works as hard as it can every single day. So really got to put some thought process into what could be the best approach on which bucket to pull from, maybe waiting till full retirement age or even delaying to get the higher benefit at age 70 could make a lot of sense. Again, everybody's situation is different. We do actually have a class coming up on this. If you visit our website, America's Retirement Headquarters, click on the Events tab, you can see some of our Medicare and Social Security classes that we're teaching over at Bowling Green State University at the Perrysburg Levis Commons campus. And we'll spend 90 minutes kind of going through this particular topic and sharing a little bit more with you. But it is a good point that Ed makes.
Yeah, it's amazing to me how, like you said, Nolan, people just assume and they just do it with no thought process behind it. Well, I'm retired. I'm taking Social Security. I deal with a lot of people, and I ask them, have you already signed up for Social Security? And a lot, like you said, 70%, I think was a number you mentioned. That's spot on, I met with a client earlier this past week, and he's not taking it until 70. I mentioned that in the first segment. They're drawing money from other buckets. He's doing it the right way because he's going to get a higher check for the rest of his life. We were talking, about his parents. His dad just passed away a couple of months ago. He was 91 years old, and his mom was 88. And I told him, I said, your genetics have a lot to play with this too. I mean, you're got a pretty good chance of living well into your late 80s, possible 90s. You're going to want more money from your Social Security check, so take it later.
There was a story that I heard just this past Wednesday on my drive into work talking about due to COVID last year and everything impacted the Social Security will be solvent a year earlier than they projected. So instead of 2035, it's going to be 2034. And I think stories like that, things like that, I think it really does put the fear into people, again, putting that mentality of I've got to get it as soon as I can and while I can. The truth is, like Nolan pointed out, if you do take Social Security early, you are giving yourself that lifetime pay cut. And that is, 20, 30 years where you are denying yourself, increased benefits, a significant benefit, what could be hundreds of thousands of dollars when you combine you and your spouse. So do the math, figure out the right way to do it. There are hundreds of claiming strategies to figure out the right one for you. And the benefit of delaying, if possible, is definitely there, and being able to tap into these other accounts like Mr. Slott pointed out, to sit down and speak with someone and figure out what is right for you. That's where America's Retirement Headquarters comes into play, 419-794-3030. Or you can go online to americasretirementheadquarters.com. While you're there, go ahead and go to the events tab and find out more information about those upcoming classes about Medicare and Social Security. Again, americasretirementheadquarters.com. Here's an honest question. How much money will you need in your nest egg to ensure a comfortable retirement? According to a new Schwab survey, the magic number is $1.9 million. Guys, I don't know. That seems like a lot. What do you tell your clients about how much they're going to need to have socked away?
Well, we can definitely tell you exactly what your number is if you're listening, and we can do that through using some of the software that we have. And it really kind of boils down to a couple things. When do you want to retire? If you're going to retire at age 50, you need to plan for 45 years of retirement. If you're going to retire at 67, you need 30 years. Those are big factors. Other things that you consider is lifestyle in retirement. Where are you going to live? What's the tax perspective? How active you're going to be. Are you going to spend time with grandkids, do more travel, maybe just relax and spend more time around the house, working out in the shop? There's all of those things that take into consideration, and knowing what your number is, whether it's 1.9 million or it's, any number, we can kind of help you figure that out. That's what we do. And through our software, we can tell you what your number is. Man,
Nolan, you made that sound like that's a lot more work than coming in here every day. Hanging out with the grandkids, doing the work around the house. That's a lot of work. I don't know if I'm ready to retire. I'm not ready to retire.
If you were to do that all in one day, that would be exhausting.
Right,
but over the course of 20, 30 years, there is no one magic number that's going to take care of everybody, because no one's retirement is going to be the same. To figure out what is right for you and how much you're going to need and how to make that retirement dream into a retirement reality. Again, the phone number, 419-794-3030. 3030. One more time, while you're enjoying your Saturday, go ahead and start preparing for that lifetime of Saturdays that is retirement. 419-794-3030. You can always find them online, americasretirementheadquarters.com. We want to thank you so much for joining us this week, as we always do. Truly do appreciate it. I hope you have an excellent Labor Day weekend. Enjoy it. And then, guys, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with the final word.
I'd say we wrap up this week by saying thanks to all the moms that are out there, because really when it comes to labor, they are the experts.
That's right.
America's Retirement Headquarters is located at 1700 Woodlands Drive in Maumee, Ohio. You can reach them by calling 419-794-3030 or online at americasretirementheadquarters.com. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Nolan Baker is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and/or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Nolan Baker, Ohio Insurance License Number 27787.